Get ready to feel
the power.
That's Colin, Crandall, and myself over here, Adam Roorda, with another episode of MMA Power Hour. This is Season 10, Episode 3. And we just lost a little graphic in the background. Don't know how that happened, but boy, Colin, do we have a great episode coming at everybody here, and I am excited. I'm excited for multiple things. First off, the fights this weekend, and secondly, to have another great episode put on by none other than Lith Token. Make sure to head on over to lithtoken.io. That is LITHTOKEN.io.
Absolutely. Lith Token is amazing. You can take it from me, your friend, the MMA professor. I'm with the king of cryptocurrency, Dr. Adam Roorda, otherwise known as Lion Fist and sometimes the Atomic Ant. So we are here to tell you, forget about any other tokens. The Lith Token is the one that'll be here long after you're dead, and your children will be getting rich on it. And so there we go. So there's that. Other than that, there's a lot of other stuff that we're super excited about. Hell, at my age, I'm super excited to be alive, you know. Like an old actor once said, he gets up in the morning, he looks in the mirror, and if he sees his reflection, then he shaves. You know, if he doesn't, then I guess go right back.
Well, that's me. Sometimes I don't see my reflection, and I just let it go.
That's it. Say, hey, you know, I might be on a different plane. Speaking about planes, there's one I got to catch in about now. Anyway, so welcome.
You know what? I was going to have one to catch to the Midwest. It doesn't sound like I'm going to be doing it now.
No, huh? You were already there. Maybe they
yeah, but I was going to go back. I was going to go get a second place over in Tulsa.
Man, oh man! I tell you what, you got to like Oklahoma. Remember that political. Funny political campaign thing I told you about, where the guy said that his opponent felt that in Oklahoma their idea of sports and leisure is sitting around your backyard with a bug zapper, you know.
I mean, I would tell them you're completely wrong, but I mean, their idea of sports is
well, they have good college football, right?
Well, not just college football, but actual basketball as well.
That's true. The OKC Thunder, man. The Thunder down under. Well, they're not really down under.
Yeah. Well, I'm not a basketball guy anyways,
there
but
we go.
They do have a great wrestling program there at OU, so.
I like that. Well,
actually, OSU is good too. I mean, they're some of the top wrestling programs, but yeah, I mean, really, all through the Midwest there, it's pretty normal, right?
Absolutely, as long as you don't have to write an IOU out to anyone, because you already got the Lith Token OU, and you then all into something. Anyway, there we go. Thank you for that. Thank you, Dr. Adam Roorda and crew. So, ladies and gentlemen, man, how about that first matchup here? Now we're going to jump into it, but Dana White's Contender Series, a show I almost never watch, but definitely some good fighters are on it. And this time it looks like it's going to be Achilles Estramedura against a person that has one name, Maheshate. So that is a tough one. Who wins, Achilles or the one name Maheshate? Man, oh man, those guys are something in that fight there. I never heard of either of them. They sound like they're tough. Let me tell you what, man.
You're going. Well, I mean,
yeah, these guys are.
It is Dana White's Contender Series.
Yes,
so.
It is, man. He is contending like an MFer, man. But
well, I mean, we do have a good one here, Bellator coming
there
up.
There we go. Yeah, the Patricio Pitbull vacating his title so that his brother can fight for it. So now fighting for the vacant lightweight title, Patricky Pitbull Friday against Peter Queally, and the elder Patricky, the elder Friday Patricky, the elder Pitbull is the favorite. James Gallagher from Ireland against Patchy Mix, who we've had on the show once or twice before. Very talented fighter. Patchy, a big favorite. If Gallagher can pull off the upset, then
that'll be interesting.
That would be something. And then some other good fighters on that card, and you know,
it'll be interesting seeing what the results are for mostly Patchy. I think he is a big favorite for good reason.
Yeah, but he's an amazing fighter. Really, really good fighter. I think he's over at Factory X. I know he's somewhere good. I forget where. But then we have LFA, but then we're forgetting the big one. There we go. LFA has some good fighters, but I'm not recognizing any of them either at the moment. So there we have the big one this Saturday, the rematch. Colby Covington, Kamaru Usman. Dr. Adam Roorda, I know you have been caught up in a lot of other stuff, but you remember Covington, except for the loss early in Usman's career before he made it to the UFC, Usman has not had anyone fight him as close as Covington. And some people can argue that and say, well, Masvidal and other guys went the distance with him, whereas Covington got stopped in the 4th. Yeah, but those guys that went the distance lost every round against Usman. Covington arguably won 2 of the 4 rounds that they fought. And so that was an even fight. And Covington is now saying he's got some more tricks up his sleeve. Let me ask you, Dr. Adam Roorda, though. You wrestled in junior high there in high school. When you have a guy like Kamaru Usman, who is a Division II national champion, going up against Colby Covington, a Division I All-American but not national champion, which is better? Would you lean toward the Division I All-American, or would you say it's pretty even?
All-American
would be better than the Division II national champion. Yeah,
100%.
And I know Colby had said that in the first matchup. It seems like neither of them even bothered to try to wrestle, but word is that Colby, the D1 All-American, is going to try to see if he can take Usman.
I mean, if anybody can, it's him.
Right, yeah.
Well, I'm going to tell you that fight is not the most interesting one to me on that card. It's actually Justin Gaethje against Michael Chandler.
Yes,
that has
amazing.
Me stoked.
Yes.
Ever since Chandler joined, it's like, oh, man, we need to see this.
Yes.
And now we are going to see the war of the century,
yes,
or the biggest dud fight on the planet.
Right, yeah. I mean, I can't see, it's not going to be a boring fight. I can't see it be a dud. However, I could see it depriving us of a lot of excitement by ending early, which is possible.
Yeah.
But I
what would be interesting would be to see the wrestling.
Yes, it's you know, the funny thing is, Gaethje, I think, has the better overall striking technique, but Chandler arguably has the more one punch power. Gaethje is like 3 inches taller and has a little bit of reach, so he's a longer fighter. They're both a similar age. Gaethje having been in the UFC for about 5 years, and Chandler for only a year or so. But Chandler killing it in Bellator. I don't, you know, we've had Gaethje on the show. He's a really cool dude, and then I interviewed him in person when Adam was there at a great media event. And I like Justin. Don't know Michael Chandler that much, so if it's based on who I like, I'm cheering for Justin Gaethje. I think Gaethje wins. I think that I don't know if the odds should be that big. I think he should be a favorite, but maybe not that big a favorite.
Man, there's at the end of the day, I would put it dead even in my head. Maybe it should actually be the other way around. I think
really
Chandler with slight favorite.
Really,
now, I'm not. This is one I am not betting on. No. I just think Chandler with that stronger knockout power, and Gaethje being the more dangerous guy that is going to be more likely to go in there and just risk it.
Yeah.
I feel that he has a higher chance of being he's gonna get knocked out.
Well,
I mean, but I'm not gonna bet on it either, because I can see it going the other way. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, remember though, Gaethje the last 3 years or so has not been as foolhardy. He's not been as reckless.
Right.
He, after his second loss, he had 2 losses in a row to Eddie Alvarez and to Dustin Poirier, and he finally did then cooperate with his corner.
And we just don't have enough time, Colin, here to talk to other guests. So I'm just like, or not other guests, but other fights. Yeah. And it's like,
so many good ones.
Colin, there's way too many good ones. And Rose against
Weili too. Rose Weili too. And Billy Quarantino, Shane Burgos, Frankie Edgar, Marlon Vera. And other great fighters, return of Raging Al Iaquinta against Bobby Green. Edmund Shabazian, the 2-time guest on our show, is back in action, trying to get back on the into the win column against Nasruddin Imavov from France. Philip Hawes in action. Ian Gary coming to the UFC. Chris Barnett and John Vellante, interesting heavyweight fight with like a 7-inch height difference. Anyway, whenever...
Well, we're not calling him. We're waiting for him to join.
Okay, so
we are here, and whenever he wants to join, we will pull him in.
Okay, so then we need to make sure, because he wasn't able to provide us with any addressing. Okay, give us a call on Skype whenever you're ready, or let us know your
he
Skype
just needs
ID.
he just needs to join.
Okay,
I sent him the invite.
Okay,
yep.
All right. Okay,
that's all he's got to do.
Okay. We're ready for the interview. If you can just click on the link and join, and then we will be set. Period. Look forward to talking to you in a minute.
So we do have a second here to catch up until he jumps in.
Yep. So, all right. So then going to, we might as well start from the top. Second one, Rose Namajunas and Zhang Weili or Weili Zhang. So interestingly enough, when Rose came out to try to get her title back, people were cheering for Rose. The people that were booing for Weili, it could have been numerous things. It could have been Rose fans. It could have been fans of the USA, which is totally understandable with a fight in the USA. Or it could have been some people that had some hard feelings against China for the coronavirus. Who knows? But the bottom line is the people booing Weili Zhang, apparently, in her belief, was the cause for her being knocked out early. And she's saying it very much upset her. She couldn't understand it and this and the other. Well, the bottom line is now that she put that out there, the fans are probably really going to boo her who want Rose to win. So hopefully she was able to kind of be prepared for that, because if not, and she's thrown again by not having a good reception by the fans, then, you know, I have to believe she's going to put that out of her head and expect it and prepare for it. I think Rose is going to win again. I think that it's funny they have Zhang favored again. How weird is that, Adam? You get knocked out in the first minute of a fight.
It's pretty much dead.
And then you
even,
fight the rematch, and then you're the favorite.
Hey, it's pretty much dead even.
Yeah, but I don't think I've ever seen that before. If you get knocked out in the first round, in the first minute, against your opponent, and you fight them again before either one of you fights anyone else, they should be the favorite.
Right.
So this is kind of bizarre to me. So I think, though, like, you know, odds makers set odds sometimes to get action. And I think for sure they're going to get action on the Namajunas side. I think smart money usually waits until a day before the fight or even the fight day. So I have a feeling, even though right now Weili is slight favorite, I think Rose is going to end up favorite, maybe even as much as 2-1.
Right.
So those who are going to be betting, and don't advocate betting for anyone that can't afford to lose anything, it's not a good thing. But if you were going to bet anyway, a small amount of money, I'm on Rose Namajunas. I don't think she ends it quick like she did before, but I think she finishes it. Dr. Adam Roorda, one of the things that they said,
I think this is going to be a war, and I think Weili's going to pull it off.
Oh wow! Do you think that her training in wrestling with Henry Cejudo will have helped? Will it come down to that? Because they were saying that she was concerned in the first match about the grappling, which is maybe why she didn't expect the head kick, because she was thinking that Rose was going to be shooting or trying to get in a clinch. Now, but then in reality, she grew up in China. She knows a little bit about wrestling, but can just like 4 months of training with Henry Cejudo really make that big a difference?
With him, yes. Okay. I think he's one of the few people. Yes.
How much of
the more I think about it, no.
Not that
just because Henry is spending his time with Tyson over there at Tyson Ranch so much.
And not only that, but
no, really, I think that's going to impact it drastically as far as his skill level while training, because he is spending so much time with Tyson over there at Tyson Ranch.
Getting stoned in the hot house or whatever.
Which I'm okay with.
Me too. I have nothing wrong with that.
I just had some right before the show, but you know,
I like it.
As a wrestler, I think it changes the level of skill.
But how much
the amount that he's hanging out with Tyson? That's all I've got to say.
But remember, we're not talking about him because he doesn't have any fight schedule. But how much?
Yeah, but it affects the training, and that's what I'm saying. When it comes to wrestling, a lot of it's about in 4 months you can develop a little bit more of a reaction to takedowns and really get that figured out. When you've got going up against somebody with tons of speed, it does impact it.
Okay,
your training partners with wrestling is probably more critical than striking.
Makes sense. And Rose is not necessarily anything like a D1 wrestler, but she's pretty good, and she's got the jiu-jitsu that a lot of people are afraid of. You know, it's one thing I know is in boxing there tends to be there tends to be an outcome that happens frequently, which is the guy or girl that wins the first fight usually wins the rematch. But in MMA, not so much. Is that our guess, maybe?
Nope.
Okay. In MMA, not so much. I noticed that the trend, there we go, the trend isn't anywhere near like that. But what do you think about this, though, Adam? If Rose finished Weili in the first round in the first fight. What do you think the thoughts are of her possibly finishing her in the first round again? Slim or none, or is it
slim or none?
Okay. It is scheduled for 5 rounds. Would you say it goes the distance or ends early?
Goes 5 rounds is my thought. I think this is going to be a war.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be similar to what we saw with Weili against Joanna.
That would be crazy. Yep. That would be. I mean, it's interesting because Rose beat Joanna twice, but the second one was really close. Weili, I don't feel she beat Joanna. I feel Joanna edged her in that fight. Weili was given the decision, although it was a really, really close fight. But based off that, I guess it doesn't tell you much except for the fact that given a second try, or actually in 2 tries, Rose had 2 wins and 1 early stoppage. I like Rose. I think she's going to do it, but I think it should be an interesting fight. I will say this, though. I've noticed a trend. In the year or 2 prior to the pandemic, we were just starting to get some Chinese fighters in the UFC, and they were killing it. They were winning actually on like an 80% clip. Since the pandemic, they're losing at about an 80% clip. And it's kind of weird. It's kind of an odd scenario. But
right.
But anyway, so consistent with that would have Weili not winning. But then again, she's someone that can turn that, change that trend. So
yeah, I was just checking that Instagram. So you have nothing to worry about other than the fact there's no comment.
Right.
No reply yet right now from Mr. Terrance McKinney.
It's. I mean, 2 weeks in a row. I mean, and it's different because that was someone whose manager had set it up and had flaked once, and then they flaked again after us being assured by the manager they would.
We have enough time. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. You're right. Hopefully, but he'll jump in. But and anyway, I mean, we can cry and scream and whatever and stuff. I can jump up and down, stamp my feet. Doesn't matter. It is what it is. But we've been confirmed that we have our first guest, and now there's just some issues. But anyway, in the meantime, let's go back to the UFC and go to the third fight. We've done the main and the co-main. I think we actually didn't discuss the main. I think a lot of people don't believe it or don't want to hear it, but I think Colby's got a shot. I think if Colby throws in wrestling and is successful in taking Kamaru down because his wrestling is just a whisker better, that could put a different spin on things. Kamaru is an amazing fighter. His confidence is at his peak. He's been getting better and better. He's a really, really smart guy, a really good dude. I've talked to him a few times after events, and actually once when he was a guest at an event he wasn't fighting on. Really respectful, nice young man. Really well thought out. And he doesn't, say anything that he doesn't mean, and he doesn't, talk trash, and he's just a really good role model and an example for a champion. Colby has got this image, and a lot of people have found out it's fake, or in wrestling they would call K-fob, right?
Right.
This image, and he is still riding with it. He might ride with it forever, but he's a really tough fighter and a tough guy, and was actually looking really good against Kamaru before he got caught. And there's some people that still feel that was an early stoppage, but some people say his jaw was broken, and they said his jaw wasn't broken. It's hard to say, but I think that's going to be a hell of a fight. And look at that, they're not giving Colby much of a chance at all. 3-1 dog. I think there's value on Colby. I'm going to say it right here. I think there's value on Colby.
I think there is. I'm actually going to go in on that one.
Yeah, I think I will too. Would I be surprised if
I'm not telling everybody out there to do it. If you want to and agree, that's on you.
Yeah, but I think there's value, and I think he does have a shot, and it shouldn't be this far a gap. And I don't think there's that big a gap in the talent. And some people are going to say, "Am I kidding?" Blah blah blah. This, that, the other. But that's my thought, and I think the doctor is with me on that. So we actually did that. Now, a fight just added here on super short notice. Our guest from 2 weeks ago, The Hanyak, Dustin Jacoby, is fighting John Allen, who's a pretty tough guy, but the Hanyak, 3.5-1 favorite here, and I think this will be another great win for him. He's just a killer. He comes in there, he takes care of business, and this is a quick turnaround fight. I think he's rested and recovered enough from his last one, which was kind of a one-sided domination of Darren Stewart. And yeah, all day Dustin Jacoby here in the Hanyak. There's not a lot of money to be made, but put him as a parlay piece if you're betting in parlays. Remember, parlays are super hard to hit, so the smartest parlay of all would be the smallest one, which is a 2-person parlay, and then every person you add makes the odds incrementally longer or larger against you winning anyway. Then we have the fourth. Well, that fight was that's going to be probably the 5th or 6th fight of the card. So I don't know. They just have it on top here because it was just added. Justin Gaethje, Michael Chandler. Gaethje is about a 2-1 favorite, and yeah, that's a hard fight. Like you're saying, it might be a fight to lay off of. It's so hard to know. Both guys have fought.
I think it goes not the full 3 rounds. Ends in the 3rd round.
Yeah. Let me ask you, Adam, in your opinion, as far as who's deserving of UFC success or the chance for a UFC title shot, remember this. Chandler had his shot basically in his 2nd fight in the UFC and lost. Gaethje had to fight like 8 or 9 UFC fights before he had his shot against Khabib and lost. Now, here's something else. Gaethje has had 8 or 9 or 10 or 11 fights in the UFC, but before that he had like 7 fights in the World Series of Fighting, which is now the PFL. Chandler has only had 2 UFC fights, but he had a dozen plus, maybe 15 or even 20 fights in Bellator, paying his dues for years. He's older. I think Gaethje is 32 and Chandler's 35. In your opinion, has Chandler paying his dues in Bellator, is that a good enough proxy to make you feel that he's deserving of
in general? Yes. Okay. Now, as far as being the next in line, it should come to, I think this was the right decision to have Justin go up against Chandler, just because Chandler is he is so good.
Yeah, multiple time champion in Bellator.
A single fight blunder is a single fight blunder. So
yeah.
If there's anybody out there that I think this makes sense with to kind of hang up and hold up Justin, it's this fight.
Yeah,
Justin in a lot of ways has deserved it already in the past. I think he should have got it before Michael coming in, but now that Michael Chandler has gone in and had that title shot already,
and then he beat Hooker before that.
Yeah, beat Hooker before that.
That makes sense. It does.
It makes complete sense at this point. And do I say whichever one's more deserving at the end of the day for a title shot now?
Yeah.
It's whoever wins this one. So it makes sense. It really does.
There we go.
I don't think it originally made sense that he even had the title shot before Gaethje.
No,
Gaethje should have had it.
Right, and Gaethje had just lost to Khabib, which is maybe why they didn't give it to him. But they should have, because with Khabib stepping aside, you just lost to him. You won the first round against him, arguably. Why not put Gaethje against Charles Oliveira? And if they did, I think Gaethje right now would be champ. But instead they put in Chandler. It is what it is.
It is
but what do you think about this? Suppose Gaethje and Chandler fight a really close fight, and it's just no one gets the advantage. Let's say it's not super exciting. What would you say to the people that feel that if that happens, Islam Makhachev, or Makhachev, as his teammate Daniel Cormier pronounced it? What about the people that are saying Islam has been finishing people? 9 wins and I think 8 finishes. Would you think that there's any possibility that if the Gaethje Chandler fight is really close and no one really looks great, that they would let Islam jump the line and have the winner of Poirier Oliveira, or do you think that would be ridiculous and that would be jumping the line more than the UFC would even want to win?
I don't think the UFC is even going to risk that one. I don't.
You mean by risk that one? You mean What do you mean risk? You mean you think that
I mean, it's quite clear what I'm saying. I mean, they're not going to have him jump the line when they've already got the line jumping going on, and they've got to step that back a little bit here. That's
I see your point. Yeah.
The correction that they're dealing with already.
I think you're right, and I think you're right. Even though the win over Hooker, it was a win off of very short notice, Dan Hooker, who fought 2 weeks earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you. I know there are some people that are going to agree with my first question, though, or query. They're going to say, yeah, for sure, Islam. I think Adam is right.
I mean, I get that. I understand the fanboy, and there's a couple. He's won people. I understand the fanboy mentality with him.
Right, but he should be next in line after the winner.
Him and Chimaev are the.
But that's one. No, Chimaev's one.
I know. I'm talking a different weight class, but I'm talking between those two with
people wanting them to have a
fanboy and it making sense. It's those
not quite
two.
Yet. I agree, but they're both close. I think the winner of Gaethje Chandler for sure.
Title shot, yep,
is title shot, and that'll be the winner of Poirier Oliveira.
Well, and I'm wondering if they're thinking Chandler's going to win against almost sure, because it would make sense here in that case. If Chandler wins, if Chandler wins to put I think that makes sense.
Well, what makes sense? Because remember, the man that he lost to. Oh, okay. So let's backtrack
to then jump him ahead of Gaethje for the title shot.
Okay, wait. So you mean if Chandler wins or loses?
Wins.
Okay, so let's figure this out. If Chandler wins, does it matter to you though who wins between Poirier and Oliveira? Because if Oliveira wins, then I see your point. Why let Chandler fight a man who just knocked him out? Mm-hmm. Make him fight Islam first. Mm-hmm. But if Poirier wins, that's not probably going to be the case. They will probably put Chandler right in against Poirier.
Yeah, it's possible. We'll see.
But I see your thinking. He's thinking it makes sense. If Oliveira wins, why put a guy that Oliveira just knocked out, even though the first round was all Chandler? And that's an interesting thought. So let's look at it this way. We'll see. Because Dr. Adam Roorda has an amazing knack of calling some unlikely stuff. But I think what he's saying is if Chandler beats Gaethje, and if Oliveira beats Poirier, and if he does, whoever wins that Poirier-Oliveira fight is going to be taking some damage. So it's got even two reasons why this could happen. If
That's not a lie.
No, exactly. That's going to be bloody. So if Oliveira beats Poirier and is all busted up, and it's going to be months and months and months and months till he can defend, then why not have Chandler face Islam so they can both get another paycheck and then see who the winner will be? For two reasons. One, because Oliveira could be all busted up and take a long time to heal and be ready. And two, because Chandler just got knocked out by Oliveira. I actually could see that. Whereas if Poirier wins, then Islam's not going to jump in the picture. It's going to be Poirier versus Chandler, and maybe Islam.
I don't know. I think they might fast track Makhachev.
They might.
I think they might do that. Hold off for a second. It depends on how much damage is in either fight, really.
There we go. Right. Yeah.
I still. If there's not too much damage in both fights and it ends up with Chandler against Makhachev, I think that's going to happen regardless if there's not too much damage on either of those fights.
Right. But now what if Gaethje wins? Would it be the same thing, or do you feel...
No, I think Gaethje's going straight to the title.
Yes. I would agree. Yeah. Not only that, but if Gaethje wins, there's no way Ali is going to say, let's just not let him fight for the title. Let's just let him fight. But no, Makhachev is another one of his clients. Yeah, so for sure he wouldn't. Or you're right. Ali would say, no, it's not.
Well, I don't know about Ali saying that, because look at Chandler.
So is Chandler with Ali?
Isn't he? I think I thought he was.
He might be. You're right about that. He might. Who knows? But
I thought that was one reason why they're like, okay, we'll take.
But I do
Gaethje
think that
Chandler
just Justin Gaethje shouldn't, like you say, Justin Gaethje, if he beats Chandler, there's no way he should have to fight Makhachev before he fights for the title. So I see your point. It's going to be interesting, and Makhachev is in it. Then on the flip side, at welterweight, Khamzat, and Khamzat hasn't proven himself nearly as much as Islam. Islam is 9-0 in the UFC. Khamzat, I think, is just 3-0 in the UFC. Khamzat has finished all three of his opponents, though, within the first round, I believe, which is very impressive. And Islam has not done that, but Islam has fought some tougher guys. But Khamzat is a killer, especially at welterweight. Many people are feeling he would be the guy that could take Usman down. or maybe even more than Covington, and could put a beating on him, although a lot of people don't. But I think Khamzat having just 3 wins in the UFC, he can't skip the line and jump ahead of guys like Vicente Luque, who we had on the show a few months ago.
Right.
He just can't.
Who knows? They do some crazy things.
Or Gilbert Burns. Yeah, no, I think Khamzat. Khamzat.
I mean, Mick knows what he's doing, but
yeah, they're not. Khamzat has to beat the guy. Khamzat. Dan Hooker is his first top 10 guy he beat, and that was on 10 days' notice, having just fought 2 weeks earlier. Right, so I'm not saying that with a full camp, Dan Hooker beats Khamzat. Most likely not. But beating a top 10 contender, your first one, on 10 days' notice, having just fought 2 weeks earlier, I'm not giving that I'm not allowing that, and most people would agree with me, to give the green light that Khamzat is next in line for a title. I think that
but you never know. That's what I'm saying.
That's true.
With these matchmakers, they know what they're doing, and that's what I'm saying. And it's not just about the rankings. And
right.
John Jones said the other day, I think it is, the rankings right now are really silly. They don't make any sense at the end of the day.
Right.
So
let's play matchmaker really quick in the welterweight division. If they don't give Khamzat the winner of Covington versus Usman, which I don't think they will, but they might. But if they don't, who would you rather see Khamzat fight? The winner of Leon Edwards, Jorge Masvidal, or Vicente Luque, or Gilbert Burns?
Vicente Luque.
Yeah, that would be crazy, because Luque is so young. He's so strong. His striking is so good. His takedown defense is really good. He's like a black belt jiu-jitsu. He's training with Gilbert Burns all day and night.
Right.
That would be a fight, because Luque is aggressive, man. Khamzat's not going to intimidate Luque and make Luque start backing up immediately on the fence. If Khamzat starts coming forward, Luque is going to be like, "Come on, big man."
It's the test. It's the real test. So I mean, that makes sense. But again, I'm just going to bring it up. The matchmaking's getting a little wild and crazy lately, so I can see Khamzat being fast-tracked straight.
Yeah, it's possible. It's possible.
Straight to the title.
It's possible. I predict not. But I will say this: if he beats any of the aforementioned guys, Vicente Luque, the winner of Leon Edwards, Jorge Masvidal, or Gilbert Burns, then almost for sure.
Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, but still fast-tracked.
Right. And then there's a chance of him fighting at 185 again, too, where he has a couple of wins, I believe. Although I think, at 185, he's a little bit undersized, even though he's proven he's got power. But who knows? I mean, he's talking about wanting to win 3 titles. He's talking his crazy guy, but I like him. Khamzat. I tell you what, just that last card in Abu Dhabi featuring all these Dagestanis and Russian guys and Eastern Bloc guys, just killers. I mean, do you realize that as little as 1 year from now, if things broke correctly for these guys, the UFC could have almost all of their champions being from the Eastern Bloc, mostly Dagestan. Look at it this way. What do you call him? Not Mustafa, but it's Magomed Ankalaev.
Ankalaev, man,
he's a killer. He's probably 2 fights away from a title shot, or 1 more win away from the title shot. Then that's at light heavyweight. Khamzat is closer at welterweight, but in talks at middleweight for a title. Islam is right there, ready for a lightweight title. Zabit Magomed Sharapov has been dealing with injuries or illness. I think illness, and but seriously, Zabit is like 1 win away from a title shot. I mean, literally, all those guys could be champions in the next year. I mean, that would be crazy. But I would say this: not impossible. And I would think for sure 1 of them will be, possibly 2, maybe 3, and possibly 4 if Zabit gets his health back, because Zabit is a killer. So yeah. Ally Quinta coming back, the raging Al. Frankie, Edgar, 2 East Coast guys. Edgar against Marlon Vera is an interesting fight. I kind of hate that fight because I like both guys so much. We've had Marlon on the show. Really, really nice guy. He's a killer. He's got ripped off of some decisions, and and just, has had to go through a lot of tough guys to prove himself, and has had a lot of guys avoid him. I think he is better than a 40-year-old Frankie Edgar at this point. But Edgar's a legend. I mean, it's just tough at that lighter weight class to be 40 or 39 and a half, whatever Edgar is. And I hate to see Edgar become a gatekeeper. I mean, the former 2-time champion, it just would suck. But it is what it is. But hey, Frankie, just when you think he's done, he comes back, and that's why he's not that big a dog here. So those who believe in Frankie Edgar, it's only a 1.5 to 1 underdog situation, but more than likely my thoughts are Marlon Vera wins that. And then weird one, Ragin Al Iaquinta, one of the few men to go the distance with Khabib Nurmagomedov, and he won the distance with him on 2 weeks notice, against Bobby Green. Bobby Green's, I think, maybe a little bit younger. No, they're the similar age. In fact, Al might even be younger. But Al, at one point, looked like the better fighter than Bobby Green. But this is coming off like a 2 or even 3 year layoff. And so he's rightfully slight dog. Bobby Green is a guy who just, so many fights are so close. So many fights are razor thin decisions. And some of them he won, several of them he lost that he should have won. So this is going to be a fight to see which guy kind of remains relevant. And I know they're both going to fight really hard. I can't pick the winner there yet, although I'll study it. Edmund Shabazian, a guest we had on our show twice, came out of nowhere, 21 years old in the UFC, killing it. He won, I think, 3 in a row. And then he came up against a really, really good fighter, Derek Brunson, who we've interviewed on our show before, and the wrestling was more than he was able to handle, more than he had experienced before, and lost. And then he got stopped late in that fight, having hung tough for like 4 rounds. And then he was like a 22-year-old in the main event for that fight. Crazy. And then he went up against a very seasoned top contender and good grappler and jiu-jitsu guy, Jack Hermanson, and went the distance, did not get submitted by a really good jiu-jitsu guy in Jack Hermanson. So 2 losses in a row. He went over to AKA, trained under the same banner, under Javier Mendez. I don't know how much time he spent with the guys there, whether it was Daniel Cormier or Habib or Islam or who knows who, but he was there, trained quite a bit. And so if his wrestling is tight, I think he's got a lot of potential, and we're going to see it here. He's up against a tough Frenchman, Nasruddin Imavov. I think that I'm surprised Imavov's the favorite, but I guess he's not coming off of 2 losses like Edmund is. But I think Edmund can make this happen. And I think Edmund, they're both 6'3". Edmund is the better striker for sure. And if the grappling can be nullified, or if even Edmund can do something with the grappling, I say he's a really good bet here. Edmund Shabazian for the win. Are we seeing anything with our guy here? Nothing.
No, nothing, Colin. Yeah, it is what it is.
Should I bother to?
No, not at this point.
Just, I'll just get this out there, then we can go back onto our picks. It's I think we have a professional show, and we really care about you guys watching, and we say someone's gonna.
We put a lot of work in every single show just to get people there, and not just that, while we do this and afterwards, and I mean it's hours and hours and hours all day, every day, and Colin and I have dumped in hundreds of thousands of dollars into this project, and when people don't show up,
just very frustrating. Because we take it seriously. We're not just goofballs here saying, oh, well, was this dude gonna come? Hey, dude, you want to maybe come on the show? Oh yeah, cool, I might. No, we don't. We're like, this is the time. Can you make it on the show? We'd love to have you. If they say maybe, we gotta say we gotta know. So the only time we're upset like this is when someone said, yeah, done, I'm on.
Right.
And then they don't come on, and it's just not cool. It's just not cool. That's all there is to it. But anyway, all right. So we are on to Philip Hawes, who's a killer, against Chris Curtis. I don't know. He's got the initials CC like I do, Colin Crandall. So I noticed that right away, but I don't think he has much of a chance. Philip Hawes is a killer. We've been trying to coordinate with Philip to get on the show. He's busy and in demand, and we're working on that. And he said he'd like to be on, but we're just trying to make the day and time work. But anyway, that should be a pretty easy win, I think, for Philip Hawes. Ian Gary, newcomer with a lot of hype behind him, should beat Jordan Williams without a doubt. Chris Barnett against Gian Villante. Dr. Adam Roorda, let me give you a little background on this because I'm curious to hear your opinion. Chris Barnett is a guy in his mid-30s. He hasn't even been able to really fight in Bellator or one championship or PFL. He's literally been fighting in these small shows for $1,000 for the last 15 years. He's a really athletic guy, but he's a short heavyweight. He's 5'9". He usually weighs around 240. He looks fat. He looks like a fat guy, but he's quick. He's got a long reach for a short guy. He's a Taekwondo black belt like yourself, and he's an exciting fighter. Finally, he got into the UFC, and they gave him Ben Rothwell, which even though Ben Rothwell in 2021 at 38 years old isn't what Ben Rothwell was 5 years ago, he's still a 6'5" guy that cuts from 280 pounds, and he's had 20 UFC fights. So to me, that was kind of an unfair matchup. And Chris Barnett was in it for about a round and a half. He really was, until he gassed out and Rothwell stopped him. But Ben Rothwell has been a top 10 UFC fighter for years. And now we're bringing Gian Villante, who has 0 wins at heavyweight. He's only had like 3 fights at heavyweight. At light heavyweight in UFC, he was like 5-5. He's just not that great a fighter. He's most well known as Chris Weidman's brother-in-law, I think,
right?
Or cousin, or no, Stephen Thompson is Weidman's brother-in-law.
There you go. I was a little confused, but yeah.
But he's his good friend. They're like great friends.
Right.
So my feeling is this is Barnett all day. I mean, I know there's a 7-inch height advantage, but this is not Ben Rothwell. Gian Villante is not Ben Rothwell. He's an overweight light heavyweight who's on the decline against a short but true heavyweight with a lot of power and a lot of hunger. I say this is like, I can't believe Villante is a slight favorite. I got Barnett all day.
I do too.
Yeah, Chris Barnett. I
can't even disagree there.
Yeah, I think Barnett all day. Also back in action, Melsik Bagdasaryan. I think Melsik is at that Glendale Fight Club, and I know that's where Edmund Shabazian, I think he still fights out of there, but I think he did go elsewhere to get wrestling. I think he did get permission of his coach there, so I think he's still on good terms and spending a lot of time at Glendale, and so I would believe Melsik Bagdasaryan is a teammate of Edmund's. And Melsik is a killer. Bruno Souza, I think, is making his pro debut, or maybe had 1 or 2 fights. Tough guy, but man, Melsik is for real, and I think he wins. And Melsik was supposed to fight TJ Laramie, so this is like a last-second replacement. And Melsik was a huge favorite over TJ Laramie, who's a tough guy. Alexa Kamer, very tough guy against John Allen. Wait a second, no, it isn't. So Alexa must be off, because we now see at the very top.
These are probably
Dustin
off.
Jacoby. Yep, that's off. Those 2 are both off. Yeah, I know. And then Vergara Ode Osborne is the good favorite here against Carlos Vergara. Ode having a tough loss to Manel Kopp in his last fight, but Ode is a tough guy. I believe the odds here. Vergara, I'm just not that familiar with, so I
need to tee up our next guest. Who is it? Jason?
Yep.
Okay, that's what I thought. Cool. And everybody here, thank you so much for tuning in and catching us on either Fight TV or the Hannibal TV or on my YouTube, or we're all over the place at this point. Make sure to check out Fight TV if you're not there. It's FITE.tv. If you're on Fight TV or elsewhere, just make sure to head on over to the Hannibal TV on Facebook. Make sure to like and follow over there. Likes, comments, shares, tweets, retweets. We love it all. It's at social media, and you guys are absolutely amazing. Thank you in advance for that. Colin and I work very hard every week to put this on, so you guys supporting us is always amazing. And Scott Burke, we say hi back. I saw that pop up. Thank you so much for dropping in and saying hi.
What's up, Scott?
And then let's get on over to our next guest.
Do it, man.
Let's see. We're not gonna miss him.
No,
it's just a matter of whether he's online or not.
Yeah,
I don't think he's online right now.
Okay, let me let him know, because he's ready. All right, let me just tell him. All right, unless it's going to be some different Skype. Trying to Skype you now, but it looks like you're not online, period. If it's a different Skype, feel free to Skype us or let us know. Remember, we are at, and this part I won't dictate.
Yep, sometimes people do change their Skypes.
Exactly.
Between conversations.
Okay. First letter is an I.
And this is one we've always used, though.
Yeah, so I would think that's it. And I think, all right. He will come on any second. Anyway, so Ode Osborne is my unofficial pick now, but I've got to look into Vergara to see how good he is. But a good card, a solid card, man. This is a solid card. You know what's interesting? If Colby wins, he's going to be the first heel to win a UFC title in a while. In fact, who was the last heel that was completely a heel character? You know, he had the interim title. So I think he was the last heel to win a title, although it was an interim title. So anyway, so does that mean there's 3 title fights on this card? No, there's not. It's just that, yeah, there are. Wait, no. The Gaethje and Chandler is a #1 contender fight. So out of the 2 title fights, Adam, Weili Zhang is the challenger and Colby Covington is the challenger. Both challengers have an equal chance of winning, or one more than the other, you think?
I think Weili has a better chance
Than Colby.
Yep.
You do agree Colby has a better shot than the odds are showing?
Yeah.
Okay, I agree. Yeah, you know what I wonder, man? Colby, in keeping with his heel image, you know, especially started a few years ago, was supporting Trump, wearing his MAGA hat and all this other stuff, because he knew that a lot of the country was against, although there's a lot of the country for Trump. But I wonder if he gets to be the champion. It would be so weird if he were to just drop the K-fob right away and say, okay, now that I'm champion, I don't have to do this BS where I have to act like a clown. It would be weird if he renounced his political affiliation. I don't think he will. I don't think he will either. No.
I don't think it's just a persona.
No, I think he probably does like Trump, but I do think though that a lot of it is it's shown that it's an act. A lot of people that have gone over to him on camera, and some people have even caught him on camera, where someone said, "Hey man, I'm an upcoming MMA fighter, man. I'm working 3 jobs at night. Can you give me any advice on like what I can do to?" And he's been known to say, "Yeah, man, you want to try to make sure you eat clean. You want to try to make sure you show up for your trainings. You want to try to get either a manager or something." I don't remember what it was, but he was super sincere. He like literally.
Oh, I've heard he's a sincere guy, and that's what it is. At the end of the day, he's sincere, and he gives no.
Right.
He gives no F's anymore.
Right.
And that's because he realized that's how you make money in the sport is you give no F's.
And you have to have some kind of a gimmick. You know, do you remember starting?
It doesn't need to be a gimmick per se, but that's the thing. Giving no flying flips in MMA actually works.
Yeah.
And there's Jason.
That's it.
I knew he'd be here.
For sure. Hello there, Jason. Can you hear me?
Got me. Can you hear me?
Beautiful. Got you there. Excellent. And we will give you a proper introduction because we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, so happy to have this next guest on the show, a man I call a friend. He is a longtime expert in the world of MMA. The guy wrestled. The guy was in the military. The guy fought. The guy has been everything there is to be in MMA. Now he is one of the most well-known and respected matchmakers in the Cage Fury Fighting Championship on UFC Fight Pass. This is none other than Mr. Jason Lederfine. So happy to see you, Jason.
Well, thank you guys for having me as always.
My pleasure. Now, over at Cage Fury, did I leave out something else? Are you some sort of like executive as well there? Or do you want to be just the matchmaker, or are you just the matchmaker, or is that a secret?
You know, I don't do a ton of matchmaking anymore. I'm more into, operations management, announcing. I am the announcer for Fury, all the Fury grappling events that we've done. I do the announcing when we're in the Memphis area, and anytime our guy Dr. Dave is not available. But just focusing on all all aspects of the business, you know.
Nice. And so then I'm going to amend that because I had a feeling that was the case. So you are the operations manager for Cage Fury Fighting Championship. And that is definitely an even higher position than the matchmaker. And you're also doing announcing in front of the camera, as you've done many times, and then you're great at. Let me ask you, for that being the case, then you probably have someone that works under you that is the matchmaker. Am I right?
Right. Well, you know, we're all a team. You know, Arias Garcia has been matchmaking for a long time with Cage Fury, and he really knows that market, the Northeast market, where we've got Rod Galvin, who kind of focuses on the Southeast portion of the country. So those guys work really great as a team. You know, when we're doing shows down here, you know, Rod and I kind of work together on, you know, who to book and who's going to bring in the numbers. But one great thing about being part of Cage Fury now, where most regional promotions, they're really not about putting on a product of great fights. I'm just going to admit it to you. They're not about it. They're about putting guys on cards that'll sell tickets.
Right.
That's their only concern. Our concern is putting guys on the show that are going to put on a performance that's worthy of being in the UFC. You know, I've recently watched promotions, you know, their main events are people that are 0-1 and debut pros, and that's their main event.
Yeah.
You know, where our main events are usually guys that are a fight away from the UFC, or, you know, 10-fight win streaks, facing another guy on a 12-fight win streak. I mean, that's the kind of production and shows that we're putting on. You know, just for example, our next show, we've got DeAndre, the protege Anderson. He's going to fight in our main event for the Bankit Bantamweight title. DeAndre came in and fought another undefeated prospect Jose Perez at 145. Jose is phenomenal. He got our submission of the year last year, and DeAndre knocked him out with one punch in 11 seconds.
Wow, that's crazy.
He's going to face a Jackson Wink product, Damon Blackshear, who came in against a very highly touted Canadian fighter at our last CFFC event in Tunica, and Damon beat him. So we're going to match those guys up in bantamweight for our title, our Bankit title. We've got two other guys. We've got a 3-0 versus a 5-0 at middle welterweight, which you know is going to be an explosive fight. That's Arkansas versus Tennessee. We just have such an exciting card. We've got the return of Marcelo Nunes. If you don't know who Marcelo Nunes is, he's a black belt world champion under Robert Drysdale. Trains out in Vegas. He is 6-1. He took some time off. His only one loss is to Rafael Lovato. If you know who Rafael is.
Wow, he's good, really good.
Middleweight champion, and that was a decision loss to him.
That's amazing.
And that was at 185. Well, Marcelo's now a heavyweight.
Wow.
And we know that if he gets a win here in the cage, his phone rings, and I've already seen the messages from some major promotions saying, "Get one more win, and you're in our cage, buddy."
Nice.
So, you know, we're really excited about that fight, having him on, and I think we've got 10 or 11 pro on our card coming up here at the Horseshoe Casino in Tunica, Mississippi on the 19th of November.
Excellent. You got muffled a little bit. You said 10 or 11 something. Was it fights?
10 or 11 pro fights.
Awesome.
Coming up at our Tunica show. So, you know, we really stacked the deck with every UFC card. We're putting a minimum of 6 pro fights on, but we like to have some on the undercard as well. And we just really stacked this card to just have the absolute best product we could.
That's awesome. And you came from a great background over there at V3 Fights, and you were there for what, 6-7 years?
I was there about 5 years with V3, and you know, I didn't leave V3. Basically, V3 we merged with CFFC.
Right.
We just basically became one promotion. Where Rob Haydack, the president of CFFC, said, you know, I'm not buying the promotion. I'm buying the people.
Nice.
I'm buying the image. I'm buying the reputation. That's what I want to be involved with. So, you know, I've racked up about 40,000 miles traveling this year, flying back and forth. We've done shows in Philly. We've done shows in Tunica. We've done shows in Tampa, Florida. We're finally making our long-awaited return to Atlantic City in December. So we haven't been to Atlantic City since the pandemic. So we're going to be back there for our show. We just did CFFC 100 in Tampa in September, a couple weeks later, we were in Philly. The end of the month, just this weekend, we were back in Philly with Fury Grappling 2 and CFFC 102. So we'll hit event 104, and we're also looking to potentially do another another Fury grappling event in December. So, I mean, it's so exciting, all the things we've got going on.
Absolutely, it sounds like it. Now, do you still have Nick Harmeyer involved?
Absolutely. Nick is a vital part of what we do. Nick is a master of marketing and acquiring sponsorships and all those kind of things for us and helping us get in new markets. We were the first MMA show to ever go to the Seminole Hard Rock in Tampa, Florida. No MMA promotion has ever gotten in there.
Nice.
And with the help of Nick, Bob, Haydak, we were able to show them that we're not some fly-by-night company. We're going to pack this venue and we're going to put on a hell of a show. And we delivered operationally. Every single fight on that card was a finish. There was not a boring fight on that entire card. The house was packed. It was if we scripted it, if it was CM Punk working for AEW and we did this for a script, it wouldn't have gone as well as CFFC 100 did.
Yeah, that's amazing. I remember you always gave credit for Nick Harmeyer. I would mistakenly say you were the CEO and the guy that runs V3, and you would say, I don't know if Nick Harmeyer would agree with that. But you know what I was thinking? I know you would never do this, but it'd be funny if I asked you about Nick, and you said, yeah, now he gets the coffee, and it takes my cleaning over to get clean. You would never do that. Could you imagine his reaction?
Nick is still he's one of those guys that and I just got a message from John Morgan. Looks like Johan might have just won on the Contender Series. He was our 170 champ, and the message that I just got from John Morgan tells me I think he just won. So hopefully we see another CFFC champion getting a UFC contract tonight.
Absolutely, joining many before him, if so. And John Morgan, I got to give you credit. He's a really good guy. I've talked to him many times live at UFC events in the press section, but I have to give you guys credit for all the effort that the UFC has made to have the media show up in business attire. You guys were the only one that was able to convince John Morgan to show up wearing a suit. So I like that. He looked fine. I guess that he figures in the UFC that he's working his ass off. He's logged in thousands of miles for the UFC, and I think he just feels they don't need to be concerned about what he's wearing, but he actually did show up looking sharp in a suit for CFFC. So shows how much he believes in you guys, and absolutely John Morgan is a great UFC media member. And
people really know how professional and fine-tuned he is.
Yeah.
So after Fury Grappling, he was commentating for the Fury Grappling. We got done around 11 o'clock, got back to our rooms and stuff, and 2 o'clock in the morning, he's texting me, hey, I watched this. Hey, we did this. Hey, nice. I want to do this.
Nice.
He watched every event right after, no matter how tired he is, so that we can do a post-mortem and we can talk about every little thing. We've gotten to the point where something that no one else would notice, we would notice if it went wrong.
Nice.
Because we find production so much. Our production is really second to none. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but I watch other people productions on, Fight Pass, and I'm like, man, look at the shadows. Look how dark the cage is. Look how they're missing their cues. All these little things that, because we've had this core stay together, we have just perfected everything. I mean, we're flying in production people to Philadelphia from California, from New York, from Memphis, from all over the country, because we're paying to have the right people there.
Yes.
We could lower the production value and save a lot of money. But what's the point?
Right.
Why that when we have such a great product, let's show it off the way it should be shown off.
Without a doubt. How many shows has Cage Fury done since the V3 merged with them? How many do you plan to do? And is every single show of the fighting on Fight Pass as well as the grappling, the Fury grappling? Give us like scheduling on that, and so people can know how to follow both the Cage Fury Fighting Championship, which is MMA, and the Cage Fury Grappling, which is submission grappling.
So during the pandemic, we were one of the very few promotions, because of UFC Fight Pass and their support, to be able to do shows. So what we were doing, we were actually doing back-to-back shows. We did that I mean, I can't even remember how many months we did that, but we just did back to back. We would do a Friday, Saturday, Friday, Saturday. Sometimes Thursday, Friday. A lot of times Thursday, Friday, because we can't do a show when UFC has a live event on. So we were filling up 2 shows 2 nights in a row for about 10 months straight. Just for example, we did a show in August. We did our CFFC 100 in September. 2 weeks later, October 2nd, we did CFFC 101. Last weekend on the 29th and 30th, we did Fury Grappling 2 and CFFC 102. In 2 weeks, in November 19th, we're doing CFFC 103. Hopefully, we'll be doing Fury Grappling 3 in December. Then we're going to be doing CFFC 104 in December. Whatever UFC can give us, if UFC calls, they know they can call us and say, we need you guys to add this many events, and this is what time we need you to do it, and this is the day of the week we need you to do it. We'll pull it off.
That's awesome.
We'll do it. We'll do it in any major city in the United States. We'll do it in any minor city in the United States. We'll go to Canada. We'll go to Mexico. We'll go to the Bahamas. We'll go wherever they need us to go, and we'll put on a product that's worthy of being on UFC Fight Pass.
I love it. And I know that's why they have you guys there, because you're all 100% professional. We've known each other for almost 5 years now, and I've always respected the work you've done. Jason, I really think that a lot of our media that are like over 35 are killing it. Some of our MMA media that are younger millennials aren't killing it as much, in my opinion, but I really like that you guys that are over 35 but still young and in great shape and energetic are absolutely killing it, like Dr. Adam Roorda, of course, here in the studio. And but yeah, I really appreciate the work you do, Jason. And let me ask your advice for a friend here, because I think this this is helpful. Everyone knows that even at the highest level of the UFC, when the guys are going to get $1 million paycheck or more, sometimes a guy has to pull out, whether it's COVID or an injury. We also know when the guys are newer in the UFC, or when the guys are in a losing streak and they're only getting paid $3,000 or $5,000, they'll even pull out more frequently. The less pay you're getting, it seems like the more trouble it is having guys show up. I've got a friend who is doing some matchmaking for some smaller leagues in Europe, let's say. And he's a great guy. They're doing everything they can, but for a really small startup league, you got to figure a lot of the guys are getting $500 or $1,000 or whatever. And what he finds is that a large amount of them are bailing out on their fight less than a week in advance, sometimes a day in advance. And he said it's one thing when they say, I've ripped my hamstring to bits, but when they say, my girlfriend has arranged for something on that day, so I can't fight. What do you do? I'm sure back in V3, and you were always a level above that as far as budget, but still, what can I tell my buddy? How does he get this to stop happening? Or is it just impossible when it's at such a beginning stage and a guy's fighting, making his pro debut, or an amateur where they're not making any money? Is there any answer to have that stop? Because it's really a drag, I'm sure, for my friend.
Well, one, it's going to start with your contract. What does your contract say about pulling out? You need to have strong language in your contract saying, one, if it's not a medical emergency, verified by a doctor's note, or military service that's taking you away, you pulling out of a fight can result in an X day suspension. 30, 60, 90-day suspension. Obviously, you would have to have an athletic commission back you up on that. But even something that minor can help you prevent guys from wanting to pull out. And then just knowing the person, knowing the community. If you know that Jason Lederfine is known for pulling out, don't book him.
Right.
It's really that simple. But obviously, low pay does kind of give you people that are just looking for a quick buck, and it can be, luckily at Cage Fury, the level of pay that we're able to offer fighters now, it's one of the highest, if not the highest, regionally. So awesome. Guys know if they're not yet in the UFC, they're going to make the most money with us. Right. But for V3, I didn't have deep pockets. I had to really, really focus. I had to put ticket commission guarantees in. I had to put a lot of things in to incentivize and really guarantee that these guys would show up for me. But it all starts with that contract.
Yeah,
you got to have it that supports you, and if you don't have a verified doctor's note that clears you to be able to fight because you had something happen, or you just decide to pull out or something like that, you're getting a 180-day suspension.
Yeah.
So that you can't go as some other promotion 2 weeks later is willing to pay you twice as much money.
Yeah, that makes sense, because there's nothing you could say. I mean, obviously you don't want to threaten another individual, but you almost feel like saying, hey bro, I love you, but if you bail out on me, I'm going to feel like killing you. I guess there's nothing that you can say like that that can ensure these people know not to pull out, right?
MMA is a small world, right?
Yeah.
And your reputation will follow you. Like I have a page on Facebook, Banned MMA Fighters.
Yeah.
There's quite a few pages like that on Facebook where if someone doesn't honor their commitment, these matchmakers, promoters, whatever, they'll go put their name, put their story, and blast these people. And when I'm looking to book somebody, I'll go on those pages and search for their name.
Yeah.
And see.
Yeah.
It's another. You look on records, Tapology, or wherever you want to look. And this guy's been scheduled for 14 fights, and he's pulled out of 7 of them.
Yeah, yeah.
It got to start looking. Why did these fights get canceled?
Yeah.
What's the issue? And unfortunately, sometimes you just have to trust people. And in this world, we have definitely all gotten screwed by somebody. We've all had somebody promise and commit and not show up. It's happened to all of us.
Yeah.
But when you build relationships with gyms, I mean, we've been able to get people on a day's notice and get them to fill in because, we've done favors for them. They do favors for us, and we're able to salvage a lot of fights. But, even the UFC has it happen where guys pull out.
Yeah, without a doubt.
They've lost main event championship fights. The day of weigh-ins or the day of fight night, they've lost them.
Exactly.
And it's just a part of the business.
Yeah, like the weigh-ins. I mean, how crazy was it for you as a longtime MMA matchmaker, operations manager to see that Paulo Costa situation? I mean, first of all, what was so amazing was he did the press conference in the midweek, and he said something like, well, I don't know what anyone's worried about. There was no weight ever set for this fight, and I'm just here to say I'll fight at any weight. And then they're like, well, you're saying you're not going to make 185, and he's saying, no, I'm not going to make 185, but we could fight at heavyweight. We could fight. It was silly what he was saying. Didn't make any sense. And then finally, like he agreed to 195, which was 10 pounds over. And you tell your opponent, with all respect to Paulo Costa, 2 days before, and he's been cutting probably for 4 days or 5 days, and Vettori agrees to it, and then it has to go to 205. I mean, that's got to be one of the crazier things that you've ever seen, or am I wrong as far as weight missing?
Well, it's definitely at that level. It's so unprofessional. It's absolutely ridiculous. I didn't know what was going on. I'm like, what is happening here? Like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
And I hit up Morgan, like, John, what's going on with this? And it was completely uncalled for, and it's so disrespectful. I've had guys show up. I had an opponent for Bryce Mitchell show up for a championship fight. It was the first title we were ever doing for V3. It was a 145-pound title. So what weight do you think he had to make? 145 pounds. The guy comes in at 150 and said, I didn't know I was supposed to make 145. I thought it was 150.
That's ridiculous.
It's a contract.
Yeah.
It's a 145-pound belt.
Yep.
What do you think? What do you think the weight is?
Right.
Some people like to play dumb. Some people like to play games. At the end of the day, Bryce Mitchell made weight. His opponent didn't. Bryce Mitchell won. He was our first ever champion of any weight class, any professional champion. And obviously we've seen him continue his career in the UFC, still unbeaten, just a phenomenal athlete. One of the only twister submissions the UFC's ever seen.
Yes.
But it's a constant problem for us. It was actually kind of unique. We just had Kyle Stewart, who is a UFC veteran, former LFA veteran as well, fight on our card against Nishan Burrell. Nishan is a Bellator UFC veteran,
yep.
Fought some best in the world, took Robert Whitaker to a decision. California would only allow Kyle Stewart to go to 188. That was the lowest they would allow him to go based on their cutting protocols. And Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where we did it, they recognize and support any other state athletic commission. And so even though it was a middleweight fight, the fight had to be Kyle Stewart. The lowest he could weigh was 188 pounds.
Interesting.
For that fight, because California has specific rules.
Right. Interesting.
So there's a lot of issues with weight, and it's something we'll never get around. Everybody wants to say we've got to get rid of it. At the end of the day, I can't have a longer reach. I can't get taller. The only advantage that I can have in combat sports is weight.
Right.
Is I can cut weight. They've done it forever in boxing. They've done it in wrestling, and it's going to continue in MMA as long as we can.
Yeah, I agree. Speaking of boxing, there are probably 3 times as many divisions. I used to be a big boxing guy before MMA came out. And let's see if I can still remember. There's 105, 108, 112, 115, 118, 122, 126, 130, 135, 140, 147, 154, 160, 168, 175. Cruiserweight, I think, is like 190 limit, and then heavyweight. So not 3 times as many, 2 times as many weight divisions. Now, I'm not going to ask you whether we should have that many divisions in there, because you probably would say no, although maybe you won't. I don't know. But what would you think, though, about adding the 4 divisions or making the changes that I think California announced like 4 or 5 years ago, and Las Vegas agreed, I think, which said, why don't we take out 170, stick in 165 and 175, and then add 195 and 225. What would you think, either A, of adding all of those, or if not all of them, which ones, or do you think none of them?
Now, I like the 155 to 165 to 75 to 85 to 95. I think that's probably a pretty doable and realistic. The problem is when you get to heavier weights. When you get to heavyweight is a very shallow weight class.
Right. Very shallow
class. So now you're going to get the 235, 240-pound heavyweights. They're going to cut to 225 pounds.
Right.
And now the actual heavyweight is going to get even more shallow. It's going to, you're going to have guys that, started jiu-jitsu 2 weeks ago fighting in the UFC because they're the only 265-pound guys willing to fight.
Right.
If you'll notice, look at some of the heavyweights that are getting in the UFC or getting on contenders. They've got 4 fights.
Right.
And they're getting the UFC. Look at a 155-pounder. They've got 25 fights into the UFC.
Yeah, without a doubt. Okay.
It's a different the depth of those weight classes. And you look at guys in boxing, they're like, he's a 7-time world champion in 8 different weight classes.
Right. They're all within 20 pounds, yeah.
12-pound difference between the lightest one and the heaviest.
Yeah, you're right. It makes it different, but it definitely makes guys get a lot more belts and other stuff, which is a question whether that's good or not. So that's a really good answer you gave. You would go for the taking out 70 and adding 65, 75, and 95, but not for adding the 225. And there's definitely validity to that. So if that's what you would like to do, question for you. How soon do you think we would see any of the largest organizations doing that, and who might be the first if we look at UFC, Bellator, one championship, and PFL? And then second question, how soon could we maybe see that in CFFC, and would it be something you would champion to try to change, and is that something we could possibly see soon?
Well, one thing you've got to remember is promotions do not dictate the weight classes. The action for that state dictates the weight classes. Now, a promotion can do a catch weight when it's outside of a weight class that's recognized by that athletic commission. But it's the athletic commission's job to dictate these weight classes, not us as a promotion.
Okay, but and I appreciate that, and that's good to know. But one thing I do know is that being the case, then as long as that state athletic commission, and I know California has, I should say I'm pretty sure, that they'd be okay with those 4 new weight classes. The next thing would be then for a promoter to say, okay, the athletic commission's approving it, let's get our first title fight started and let's get it going. And it seems like so far, and I spoke with Dana personally, he has no interest in that right now. The only interest he might have is bringing in women's atom weight at some point. But that being the case, and I'm glad you mentioned that, so do you think that in a state that is okay with those new weight classes, will we see UFC, Bellator, PFL, or ONE implement them anytime soon? If so, how soon would be your guess? And 2, could you possibly make a move in a state that allows that to add those weight classes to Cage Fury Fighting Championship?
Well, I think you're going to see it regionally first, where you would see the really big shows, because now you've got to develop that talent at those weight classes. There's probably a lot of guys at the 170-pound, weight, or 155-pound weight class that they're cutting a ton of weight that might say, okay, yeah, I'll go to 165 now.
Right.
Now you've got to figure out, those guys at 170 might say, you know what, I'm a little too small for 175. Now I'm going to go down to 165.
Right.
So we've got to develop that talent in those weights. We'll have to develop them on the regional level and kind of start building those weight classes up. The biggest thing you don't want to see, though, is you don't want to see people avoiding each other. And that's what the UFC is probably most likely trying to prevent. That once you get to 185 and you're like, you know what, I really don't want to fight this guy, he's tough, I'm just going to drop that extra 10 pounds and go to 175.
Like in boxing.
Just,
yeah.
There's going to be people avoiding each other. So that's kind of you've got 2 sides to it. And it's difficult. There are guys still cutting an enormous amount of weight. Just a battle that I don't think we're ever going to win. Boxing added a lot of weight classes, and because of that, it prevented a lot of great fights, because guys just said, well, hey, I'm a 147-pounder and you're a 140. We're not the same weight class, so we can't fight each other.
Right.
And it prevented fighting each other. So, I see it both ways, but I think regionally is where you're going to see it first. And then if it's successful regionally and we build up that talent at those weight classes, other promotions will decide to take it as well. But again, it's going to start with athletic commissions.
That makes sense. I appreciate that knowledge. So we have about 7 more minutes with you. Jason, can I pick your brain on some upcoming UFC fights?
Absolutely.
I appreciate it. Dr. Adam Roorda, if you will, do the honors. I appreciate it. He's already on it. Okay, so this Saturday, let's start a little lower on the card. Edmund Shabazian. Are you familiar with him? Southern California guy at 21 years old, rattled off like 3 or 4 UFC wins. Primarily a striker out of Ronda Rousey's former gym, Glendale Fight Club. Came in against Derek Brunson. Never saw that kind of wrestling before. Pretty much got ragdolled and hung in there strong, but got stopped in the 4th. Immediately afterward, they give him Jack Hermanson, who's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and he avoided being submitted the whole time, but again got out-grappled, being concerned about the jiu-jitsu as well. So he's been about a year away. They say he spent some time at AKA, and he's 23 years old now, still really young, but more seasoned than he was. He's a slight underdog to a guy from France, Nasruddin Imavov. A lot of it's going to come down to if he's been able to tighten up that grappling. You know, as a wrestler, how important it is. I think in a year, you're not going to become a D1 All-American, but he can have made some improvement, especially as young as he is. And I think I think Shabazian wins this fight. What do you think?
Well, I mean, you can look at those odds. I think ESPN has him now as a plus 105.
Yeah.
Nasruddin as a negative 125.
Favorite,
really,
yeah.
that's a dead even fight.
Yeah.
I was looking at the odds tonight on Contender Series, and I mean, every fight was just ridiculously lopsided. Johan, who I know just got a sick KO, I think he was like a plus 400 underdog.
Wow.
Won. So, Edmund's tough. Had a great performance last time, and France is obviously still kind of newer to MMA. One of the last countries to actually legalize
right.
it. I think Edmund's tough, and I think he can pull it out.
Yeah, I think so too. Next one, give me like maybe 15 seconds on this. Marlon Vera and Frankie Edgar. I kind of hate that fight because both guys are such good guys. If it was Frankie Edgar 5 years ago, it'd probably be all Frankie Edgar. But Edgar's just about 40 now. Not that that's a death sentence, but I just think this is Marlon Vera's fight. Although, I don't know. What do you think? Give me a 15, 20 seconds on that.
I just saw Frankie. He was at our Parks Casino show in Philly October 2nd. We put him cage side. I walked him in. And, I mean, this guy is such a fan favorite. Everybody loves him. I mean, people were almost crying because they were so excited to see him.
Awesome.
Again, this is a pretty close fight. I think Vera's a minus 180 favorite. Obviously we saw what happened to Frankie when he fought Corey. I think that I'm not going to say it's a fluke win. I'm just going to say it was a very surprising win for Corey, for Frankie to lose that way. If they fight 10 times, I don't think that happens 10 times.
I agree.
Frankie's that guy that we kept doubting and said, hey, he's done. But then he comes back and he beats someone that he wasn't supposed to beat. I think as an all-around fighter, he's better than Marlon Vera. He's better.
Okay.
But there's only one guy that's undefeated.
Father Time. Yep. Yes, indeed.
He doesn't lose. And hopefully that's not caught up with Frankie, but I can tell you he still looks great. I can tell you that he's still training hard. And I would not bet against Frankie, especially at a plus 155. He might be worth throwing a little money on.
Yeah, absolutely. I can see that. And he's such a favorite. I love to see him win, although Marlon is a nice guy too. All right, 4 fights. The main 4 fights, actually the main 3 fights. Give me maybe 30 seconds on each. Justin Gaethje, Michael Chandler. I love to ask wrestlers about a fight like this. You're a wrestler for a long time. What the hell happens here? Give me 30, 45 seconds on this.
We can't skip Billy Q.
Okay, I knew. I was just going to say, okay, Billy Q, Shane Burgos. I think Billy Q pulls the upside.
Veteran.
Yes.
He's a 3-fight vet. He was actually called up the Contender Series a few years ago, and he was under contract with us and passed up the Contender Series to fight on our show to honor his commitment. Nice. He was at our show at CFFC 100 in Florida. Absolutely phenomenal guy. One of the nicest guys in the business, and I'm going with Billy Q. So the Chandler and Gaethje.
Yep.
This is an amazing fight. Yeah. This is a fight that's like, wow, this headlines pretty much any UFC we've seen in the last couple of years.
Here, and it's the third fight in the card here.
Gaethje said, I've got 3 or 4 more wars left in me. And he's got him in him. He's going to go to war. Now, Michael Chandler can go to war too, but Michael Chandler, I don't want to say his chin is suspect. I just want to say that he's been through some wars.
Yeah.
And he has not always finished on top.
That's true.
Of those wars. So if I've got to pick somebody, I don't think Michael Chandler's fought somebody as aggressive as Justin, as in your face, and a better wrestler.
Yes.
Justin Gaethje's a Division I All-American.
That's right.
As well.
That's right.
So his wrestling is on par with Chandler's. I think as a complete package, I think Justin wins it. And he's actually a minus 200 favorite as well.
Right. So the odds are correct as the way you see it.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I got Gaethje in that one as well. It's going to be a tough fight, but I think Gaethje. Rose Namajunas, Wei Li Zhang coming off. How do you make a person who got knocked out in a minute the favorite over that exact person that knocked you out? I don't know. But not a big favorite, but slight. Yeah, shouldn't even be that. My thought is Rose. What do you think?
They've got them dead even. Both are negative 110.
Really close. Okay.
But I thought Wei Li, she was the next Valentina.
Yeah.
I thought she was a machine. She was completely unbeatable. There was no one that could touch her. And then Rose comes in and knocks her out.
Yep.
Rose is such a sweetheart story.
Yes.
Everyone, she's adorable.
Yes.
She is a phenomenal fighter with so much heart. This is a tough one to call. Was it a fluke kick? Or was it Rose dominating? We thought it was a fluke against Joanna.
Right.
The first fight. That was a fluke, and she comes back and beats her again.
Yep.
So, man, that one's hard to call. It's so hard to call. But if it goes to a decision, Wei Li wins the fight via decision. If it gets finished, I think Rose is the winner.
I like that. Now, give me 30 seconds maximum, because then we got to jump to our next guest. But 30 seconds, Colby Covington, Kamaru Usman.
And, Usman, 16-fight win streak, whatever it is. He's a phenomenal athlete. He's a great champion. Colby, I don't know if he's put the work in, been with the right people to finish this fight and get this one. He's been the toughest test so far for Usman, and you can't count him out. But I am calling it for Usman retaining his title.
Gotcha. It's going to be a close fight. I think Colby makes it maybe even closer than last time. I can't wait to see if he wrestles him. Dr. Adam Roorda here says a D1 All-American should probably beat a D2 national champion. Do you agree if it was just wrestling, or should that be kind of even?
I've seen, let me tell you this, I have a guy that was a D2 finalist, took second place, and didn't place D1 at all. I've seen guys that have been NAIA national champions beat up Division I guys.
Right.
There are levels to it, but there's never anything guaranteed. That's why we have Cage.
Absolutely. Well, Jason Lederfine, you are awesome. You are the Chief Operations Officer. Is that it? You're Chief of Operations for Cage Fury Fighting Championship, right?
Man.
Say it again.
Your lips to God's ears. That's my new title.
I hear you. I bestow that upon you, but nevertheless, you are one of the guys that makes things run over there on Fight Pass. You're Jason Lederfine on social media everywhere, right?
Yes, sir.
Really appreciate you, Jason. You're one of the people that I respect most that run an organization where there are MMA fights and grappling. And keep up the great work, man. Really appreciate your time.
One of my favorite shows to be a part of, as always, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, brother. You're welcome. Peace. See you soon. And that was Jason Lederfine, Cage Fury Fighting Championship, nearly every week or at least a couple times a month on UFC Fight Pass. Also Fury Grappling or Cage Fury Grappling Championships. A lot of their fighters are going to the UFC. And
100% one of the better organizations out there. Very good feeder league, but to the extent that they may as well also be UFC in general. I mean, that's how I feel about it. I don't feel like these guys are just feeders. I feel like it really is, truly is an extension of the UFC at this point. Kind of like Invicta was for women's MMA for a little while.
Yep, on Fight Pass. With Jason running it, everything is pro. I mean,
yeah.
Pro.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, professional quality, and they may have some amateur fights on there, but the pros are polished.
Absolutely. Well, hey, Colin,
get the next guest, right?
Yeah. Well, we'll hop right into our next guest. Before we do that, I want to go ahead and say thank you, everybody that's tuning in. If you're on Fight TV, head on over to the Hannibal TV on Facebook, and if you're on the Hannibal TV, head on over to Fight TV. It's FITE.tv. Make sure to subscribe to MMA Power Hour. Just throw it in the search bar. Hit up our socials at MMA Power Hour. Likes, comments, tweets, retweets, shares. We love you guys for it. And also check out lithtoken.io when you get a chance. It is LITHTOKEN.io. It is a clean energy associated token and cryptocurrency. We're all in the cryptos now today, right? So head on over to lithtoken.io. And Colin, we'll go ahead and give our next guest a call here. Looks like he's ready.
Let's do it.
Skype dance. We get a Skype dance on this one.
Hey, Jalen, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Excellent. We want to just have you hit that button. Excuse me, that's below you. That looks like an old-fashioned movie screen. And there you are right there. Absolutely. Let me give you a proper introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, I am super excited to have this next guest on the show. One of the most exciting fighters in the UFC lightweight division. We are talking about the man they call the Tarantula, Jalen Turner. Welcome to the show, Jalen.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Absolutely, me too. So, man, it's good to talk to you. We actually talked once or twice about a year and a half back, and really appreciate you coming back on and just continuing to do what you do, man. I thought of something that I think you'll like. You have the tarantula going, but you've also got the element of surprise tarantula, and I say that because the tarantula is scary, big, hairy, scary-looking creature, which actually is not poisonous and is not as dangerous as people think. You are a smiley, friendly-looking guy, but you are more dangerous than people think. So you not only have the tarantula, you got the element of surprise tarantula power.
I like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, man, I'll tell you, this last fight was a fight that you were the underdog, And I don't know why, but a lot of people were giving your opponent some love. I think maybe you had had a little bit of time off, I think, or had you had some injury or COVID, or what went on with you prior to this last fight?
And I had injury after injury. I had an injury after my last fight against Brock Weaver. Had to get my hip worked on, and then I got COVID earlier this year, and then ended up breaking my hand. So I was just like injury after injury, messed up my knee. The start of my camp when I was supposed to fight when I fought Medic, I broke my toe. I was like, damn, like what else can happen? It was just like a snowball effect of just bad energy. I was like, you know what, just keep my mind right, keep happy, and then I'll get to the octagon.
Absolutely.
But, that played a big factor. Like he was undefeated. Everybody gets hyped for the undefeated fighters. Hands up. Like I had been out for a year, so as soon as they gave me the fight, I was like, I like the fight. Like I felt like it was in my favor. So.
Nice. Now you say you thought it was in your favor, and you always are a confident fighter. You're a talented fighter. But let me ask you, as a fighter, if you look at social media, just for the heck of it, which I think you do sometimes, and you see people saying, oh man, this guy Medic is so good, man, he's just going to walk in there and step on that tarantula until we hear all kinds of bones cracking. What do you think when you hear something like that? Does it make you mad? Does it make you concerned? I mean, what was your reaction if you see someone saying you're about to get stomped?
It doesn't bother me at this point. I've heard everything you can think of at this point. It's just fuel to the fire. Like I just take it with a grain of salt, and I just keep doing my thing, keep training hard. Like I trained for him like he was like one of the top guys, like top 5 in the world, and it showed. That's why I made it look like I was levels above him.
Absolutely. Was it your strategy that kind of was tailor-made to beat this guy that kind of made the difference? Because it just seems like he was like walking in quicksand compared to you, and he had looked so good against a lot of other fighters. Was it something you think that he was nervous and tentative? Was it something that you studied about him that you guys were doing right off from the first bell? What do you think caused him to look like he shouldn't even have been in there with you?
It was first and foremost, it was the styles. Like I feel like I had a better style than him. I feel like he hadn't fought anybody of my caliber. Like I checked his record, and I feel like he was nervous. Like as soon as we got into the octagon, I looked at his eyes. He didn't make eye contact with me, and I was like, oh, he's nervous. He hasn't been on this big of a stage, so that played a big factor too. But I was just prepared. Like I've been training a year straight, training through my injuries, training through all the BS. Like I was ready for whoever they threw at me at that point. So, it just happened to be him. The game plan went perfectly. A lot of body work, grapple him. See how that grappling plays out. I knew I had a better ground game than him. So, yeah, man, like it just everything lined up. The stars lined up.
Absolutely. Did you feel pressure coming off all those injuries and illnesses to kind of bring the tarantula back into the public's consciousness?
A lot of pressure. It was like having that layoff. It was like, man, sometimes I was like, I don't know what the next injury is going to be, what the next issue is going to be. So it messed with my head a little bit. I think it was more like self-pressure, but I also felt like positive pressure. Like a lot of people were being really encouraging, happy to see me back. Everybody was like, man, when are you fighting again? When are you fighting again? I was like, I'm working on it, So I like pressure. Like it always fuels me. It never like negates me or pushes me down in any kind of way. So I like to rise to the occasion.
Very cool. Now, Jalin, are you sticking with one division? Because sometimes I see the weights listed incorrectly. I was thinking you were fighting mostly at welterweight, but is it lightweight or is it welterweight?
It's lightweight, only lightweight. I fought at welterweight one time, and that was it. I was my debut, short notice. I walked in the fight at like 173, so I'm gonna stay at 55. I'm not that big, but
right.
Stay at 55.
You got that height though, man. It's 6'3", 155, man. That's crazy. You know what I mean? You got that length, which is really, really good. And obviously we're seeing a lot of fighters do well with that length, and that definitely comes in handy. So 155 is a pretty stacked division. I think possibly maybe the most stacked might be 45, but no disrespect to 155. But there's a bunch of guys up there. Where do you think that last win puts you? Can you start asking for guys in the top 15, top 20? I would think so.
Honestly, I want to get one more good win in. Get this last fight on my contract, and then we can start talking. Talking like moving up. I'm not in a rush. It's a really stacked division. I'm gonna have to fight the top guys eventually, and I just want to make sure I'm as prepared as possible to do it. So, the ball's gonna be in my court at that point. So there's no rush. Everybody's like, "Oh, you're getting no top 15 and top 20." I'm like, no rush to fight those guys. I'm going to end up fighting those guys regardless. I'm not straying away from no fight. Like my debut showed that I'll fight anybody. I will fight anybody. But now it's like I got to be a little bit smarter, taking my career and then listening to my coaches and my management. So just baby steps.
Yeah.
That last one, the guy Medic had a lot of hype. I feel like that's why. It pushed me up so much more. But by the time I get there, I'll be ready. I could fight a top 20 right now, but it just wouldn't make sense financially, in my opinion. So that's what it is.
Makes sense. And you're still young, so you've got time. So let me ask you, are there any fighters that would be an interesting personal fight with you? Not that you have bad blood with anyone, although perhaps that may be it. Is there anyone that you either fought in the past, back in the day, or anyone whose teammate beat your teammate, or anyone that you think would be an amazing stylistic fight, or any bad blood that you have with someone that maybe not top 20, but maybe they are, or maybe they're ranked right about where you are, 25th or 30th, anyone like that?
Shoot, honestly, I can't think of it. If we're going back to like the local region, there's one person I'd fight from the local circuit. His name's what's his name? Richard Leroy. That's one I'd like to. That's like I won that fight in the first round, but
Nice. He's probably not in the UFC, or is he though?
Nah, he didn't even fight no more.
15 seconds to go.
Oh well, that chance. Yeah, you may have lost that chance, but I think you'll get several other victories. There's a lot of action going on, man. Can I get your opinion on some fights coming up here this weekend?
Shoot, who's fighting this weekend?
Colby and Kamaru Usman, number 2.
Oh, that's this weekend, huh?
Yep. I'm glad I told you, because you were about to make some plans to go out Saturday night, and you got to stay home and watch fights.
For real.
So, all right. So this card is interesting. I got Dr. Adam Roorda. He loved me on that one. I come up with some funny ones, man. I like that. I appreciate you, Jalin. All right. So interesting fights on this card. There's all kinds of fights here. 185. Edmund Shabazian is coming back. You saw he didn't do so well against Derek Brunson 2 years ago. And then he did all right against Jack Hermanson, but lost that fight. They say he went over to AKA to tighten up his wrestling a little bit, and then he went somewhere else. They're putting him up against another 6'3" guy from France, Nazardine Imavov. You think Shabazian kind of tightened up his wrestling a little bit in a year and beats this Frenchman, or not?
Offense.
I think Edmund would. I think he'll do good. I'm straight with him. I've seen him work. I think he'll do good. I think he wins that fight. I don't know the other guy he's fighting though, so I don't know how it'll come out.
No problem. I appreciate that honesty. How about the return of the man they call Raging Al, your weight division? Lightweight Al Iaquinta from New Jersey, I think, against the King, Bobby Green. That's an interesting matchup, don't you think?
Always fake strikes.
I gotta go with Bobby. We from the same area. That's where he got it. I think he gonna run through him.
That's cool. What area is that? Is that like the South or something?
Montana.
Oh wow, Southern California. That's right. I didn't even know that. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Cool. How about Frankie Edgar against Marlon Cheeto Vera?
That's my boy too, man. Marlon got to win that fight.
Yeah. He's favorite. He's about 2-1 favorite, but man, Edgar's so tough. But the years go by, man. It seems like, the guy's getting close to 40 trying to cheat father time a little bit. I cheer for them because I'm over 40 personally, but it's going to be tough. I think Vera has that. Should be a hard fight. How about another one? I think that's your weight division, or is it one weight class lower? I think it's featherweight. Shane Burgos against Billy Quarantillo.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, I'm excited about that one.
I don't know who's going to win that one. I just want to see a good fight. I'm not going to pick on that one.
I got you. That's okay. All right, now we get to one more before we get to the big four. Just added to the card, light heavyweight, the man they call the Hanyak, Dustin Jacoby, against a guy named John Allen.
Is that Colby and Usman?
No, this fight is Dustin Jacoby against John Allen. Do you know them? Dustin Jacoby's been killing it at 205. No? No problem. All right, let's jump up to the main four then. Justin Gaethje and Michael Chandler. Not only give me a prediction, but tell me, how does that fight play out? What are some of the things as a pro UFC lightweight as you are that you can tell us? What should we look for that might give us some hint about what's going to happen? And what are maybe two different ways that fight could play out?
I think Gaethje's durability is going to win him that fight for sure. His forward pressure, his ability to take a strike. Chandler's a lot more explosive, but I just feel like Gaethje is just gonna eat everything and throw it, walk him down, walk him through. If Chandler utilizes his wrestling, that'll help him. That'll help him win a decision possibly, but I'm going with Gaethje for that fight.
Makes sense. And if someone was gonna bet, would you think it goes the distance or not?
Walk like a king.
I feel like somebody gets finished, but it can't go the distance.
Understandable. If we get finished, maybe it's late.
You own your place. Right. That's it.
What?
If it gets finished, maybe it's late finish, possibly.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt, late finish.
Makes sense. All right, Wei Li Zhang against Rose Namajunas. Now, I ask you this question. If you finish someone in the first minute of your fight, and then the two of you don't have any other fights against anyone else, and they match you up again, how is it an even money fight in the betting odds?
Body stretching.
Oh, man. So am I the winning fighter or am I the losing fighter?
If you're the winning fighter, wouldn't you think you'd be favored like 2-1 or 3-1? I mean, I don't understand how they don't have Rose 2-1, 3-1 favorite. She beats the girl.
She's not the favorite?
No, it's a even money pick pretty much. And actually, a few books have Wei Li as slight favorite.
Oh damn! I don't know. Yeah, I don't understand. I mean, I was the underdog my last fight, so I don't know how these
right.
odds.
But how do you think that plays out? Obviously, it probably won't be a first round head kick finish by Rose again, although it could. But what do you think in that matchup?
I think Wei Li's going to bring a lot more fire. I feel like Rose is just hungry and happy to be a champion again, and she's going to die trying to defend that belt. So
yeah,
I'm with Rose. I got Rose for that. I love Rose. She's one of my favorite female fighters. She's dope.
She's cool. I like how Pat Barry, her boyfriend, all the time. Remember how whenever he walks her down to the cage, his eyes are all big and he's screaming at her, "You're the best. You're the best." And she's like, "I'm the best." I love it because I think that has worked, hasn't it?
Man, shoot, I need that kind of energy.
Yeah, you got to get someone in there like Pat Barry, you know. But no, you're doing good on your own. Okay, finally, I got to hear you break this down, man. Give me a couple minutes on this if you can. Colby Covington against Kamaru Usman. That first fight was close. Yes, Kamaru has gotten better, but you don't think Colby's just been sitting there like watching TV and eating McDonald's. The man's training. The man's a Division I All-American wrestler. What do you think as far as being completely objective? And then if you want to say who you want to win, that's fine. But being completely objective, what do you think we're going to see here in this fight? How is this going to play out, and what are the key factors going to be, you think?
I feel like this fight's going to be way more competitive than the first fight. I don't think it's going to be a stand-up firefight. I feel like Colby's going to try to push and dictate the pace right off the bat. He's definitely going to try to utilize some grappling if he can. He's going to try to negate a lot of striking in the beginning. He's going to try to grind him out. That's just what I see. That's what I like. That's from the first fight taken away. That's what I see he would like game plan to try to do. I also feel like Usman's just been so active and so dominant that he's going to be even more confident than the first fight. So that might shut down all of Kobe's game plan with just his jab alone. Like, his jab, his striking has been so sharp. And he's so much more patient. And you've just seen, like, his finished Masvidal, you know? Like, that shit was wild in itself. Gilbert with the jab, you know? It's just like, how much more confident can you get, like, finishing those two dudes, you know? So, I don't feel like Kobe has a chance, for sure. But I don't feel like Usman's going to be fazed by him in much of any way.
Yeah, understood. I think it'll be a good fight. Can I ask your opinion? What do you think about these guys from Russia that are getting all this love? Like, you know, from Dagestan, like Khabib, or from Chechnya, like Khamzat?
Let's talk about that, because my coach is Russian.
Yeah? Let's see.
What's up, Ozzy?
Ozzy.
Yeah, what's happening?
I love it.
I'm getting ready for the Russian.
I like it, man. Because I was going to say, those guys are killing it.
We're starting with the culture.
Yes, sir.
And we've grown from it.
Yeah, because man, I mean, they've been killing it. So, Jalen, what do you think, though, man? Are they giving some of these guys too much love? Like Khamzat, I think, has 3 victories. And his last victory, he beat Dan Hooker on 10 days' notice, who had fought 2 weeks earlier. I'm not trying to take that victory away from Islam, but it is not like a man having a full camp and notice, although it probably wouldn't have mattered. Or do you think it would have? If Hooker had a whole camp, would he have done a little bit better against Islam, or not necessarily, you think?
No, sir.
No.
Let me give you a backstory.
Yeah.
I trained with my coach.
Yep.
I trained him 6 years ago at Jackson Wink. He's the only 55er I ever trained with that could hold me down, keep me down, and keep me on my back.
Nice.
And that still holds true to this day. And I was like 21 at the time, so I got my grown man strength. I tried to learn as much as I could, and he could still do it to this day. So it's just a next level, different style of grappling. The understanding of their grappling is something different. So that's why I'm trying to like figure it out and like piece by piece put it all together in my game, in my arsenal. So when I do have to fight those top guys, I know what's up.
Without a doubt, and I know that you can. You got that length and that striking and that high wrestling IQ. How do you think a guy like Islam is going to do against some of our good American D1 wrestlers? Like, obviously, we saw Khabib did beat Gaethje by submission, but can Islam jump in there against a Gaethje or against a Dustin Poirier or a Charles Oliveira? Is he as good as those guys yet, you think?
With grappling or just in MMA in general?
Let's say in MMA in general.
Yes, he is. Yeah, I believe so.
Does he deserve a shot before the winner of Chandler Gaethje, or should it absolutely be the winner of Chandler Gaethje gets the winner of Poirier Oliveira?
The way I see, so title fights are always iffy. Contender fights are always iffy because either way, you're gonna end up fighting the person. You're gonna end up fighting the next contender. Okay, he jumps up, he fights the next contender. Then it's gonna be either Chandler or Gaethje. Either way, it's just whoever wants to get it first, whoever gets to it faster.
Yeah.
I don't think that matters too much. Does he deserve a title shot? Yeah, of course. He's 9-fight win streak.
Yep.
He hasn't lost in the UFC.
Right.
He's walked everybody.
Right.
Made it look easy. I don't see why not. You know.
Right.
Like it's hard to deny it. You know, like as far as popularity goes, like I don't know how popular he is amongst the community,
Right.
but he definitely he's earned a title shot for sure.
Makes
I'm not
sense.
taking it away from him.
Now, on the flip side of it, Khamzat, with only like 3 or 4 wins, I don't think he's earned a title shot. He's talking all kinds of craziness, it seems like, and he's beating guys that are kind of good, but not that great. So I think this Khamzat looks tough because he's crushing guys, but I don't know when he starts talking about how he's just going to play with Kamaru Usman or something like that. I think he's got a little something left to prove before that. Do you think he's that good, or do you think it's kind of undetermined still with Khamzat Chimaev?
It's still undetermined. I gave him a lot of respect at the last fight. I thought he was going to do a lot more.
Yeah, Li Jingliang. Yeah, this last fight 2 days ago.
Yeah.
3 days ago, yeah.
Yeah, I think that was a good test for him right there. But like you said, like an Usman fighting an Usman, I don't know. Usman's just a different monster.
Yeah.
3 fights in, is he ready for that? I mean, they're pushing him. He's handling the test. He's making it look impressive. Marketable. He's marketing himself. He's talking shit. You know, that's what they want to see. That's what everybody wants to see. So, doing it right.
Absolutely. Which fight are you looking most forward to in the UFC that you're not involved in that is scheduled for the next couple of months? Maybe Francis Gane or no?
Shoot, I don't know. No idea.
Who do you think wins that fight, Francis Ngannou or Cyril Gane? They trained with each other for a few years too. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know, man. I don't know. I like them both, man. I like them both. I can't go against either one of them. They're both good.
Yeah.
It's been the best to win.
Absolutely. Last question, I guess. I'll make this one of the last questions. John Jones, a guy who's always been a tall, lanky guy like yourself. Will we see John at heavyweight, and how far can he go, in your opinion?
John can go as far as he wants to, as long as he keep his shit straight. That's it.
Yeah.
He's always been a great fighter. He just stay out of trouble, man. He's already proven himself in the division in the sport. He's definitely one of the greatest, hands down. You can't take that away from him. Just keep his track record right, and that's it. He'll be good. I think he'll be a force at heavyweight for sure.
Yeah.
I think he gives everybody a run for the money heavyweight. Grappling alone, playing, I think he's the proof. So,
Gotcha. We were losing you a little bit at the end. Can you still hear me, Jalen?
yeah, I hear you.
Gotcha. No, I appreciate that. All right, my friend. Well, we're looking forward to your next fight. Usually it's probably, another month or two, or would you put yourself on the list if Sean Shelby or Mick Maynard needed you to call you? I guess everyone's kind of on that short list until you get in the top 10. Do you think you could be up for like a shorter notice fight, or do you have a time that you need to heal up a little bit more?
I need some time. For a notice. It's a good card. Right now, for really want goal, but we'll see.
Sounds good. And your goal? Say that again, because we couldn't hear you until the end. What was your real goal?
I want to fight in January.
Sounds good. So you want to be able to enjoy some Thanksgiving and some Christmas eating, it looks like, huh?
Gotta get.
Absolutely. Well, you look great as always, man. I tell you what, Jalen, I have a lot of belief in you. I don't think anyone doubts you now, man. So the sky's the limit. Can't wait to see you in action. Let us know, man. You want to jump on? We'd be happy to talk to you and help promote that fight when you find out about it.
Definitely.
Awesome. Thank you so much again for your time, man. The Tarantula, Jalen Turner. I'm with the Tarantula Power. Keep it up. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
Talking with you.
You too. Take care. And that was the Tarantula, Jalen Turner. How do you like that, Adam? I came up with the fact that he's got not only the Tarantula power, but the element of surprise Tarantula power when the real Tarantula is not poisonous and is not as dangerous as people think.
Right.
But the Tarantula, Jalen Turner, with that big smile, is more dangerous than he looks and people think.
Well, of course he is.
Yeah. So he liked that. He said he's got to go with that. I like that.
Give him a follow on social media and you'll see right away. He's fairly dangerous.
Yes, but he's super cool. Also super cool.
No, he's a very humble dude. He came on our show 2 years for the first time, man, he was just super humble, but at the same time, he knows he's going to go in there and win. He is actually a beast.
Yeah, really talented guy. 6'3", 155.
Now, let me ask you this. If he faces Terrance McKinney, who's going to win?
Yeah, one that shows up.
I have to ask you, Colin. Because,
one.
Who's going to win that one?
I think Jalen, based on the fact that he showed up for his interview.
Yep.
All respect to you, Ben T-Rex, but we had your word and I didn't show up.
Yeah.
But you know what's funny, man? You know what I was wondering, Adam? Some of these guys like Michael Bisping, and he's retired and he's not going to talk trash, but some fighters that are still active, like kind of have their own podcast and stuff, right? I wonder if you were an active UFC fighter who had a podcast and you had a guy promise to be on, and you're a UFC fighter too, would you maybe call him up and start cursing him out and saying, look, you're not going to show up?
That's what I would do if I were Michael Bisping.
Yeah, right? Say, really? You're not going to show up on my show, you ass,
asshole.
Come on, bring it on. Let's go to the gym.
Yeah, let's
let's see who wins. That'd be funny, wouldn't it? Because the guy would be like, dude, I wasn't wanting to fight. I just, I was too busy to show you. No, man.
I want to see you do that with somebody.
Yeah, that would be. It'd have to be in my next life, unless someone was fighting who was way over the hill and a little bit overweight, and then I might challenge them because that describes me. But I'm getting the weight down, though. I'm getting it back tight,
Well, there's one thing we don't like here, and that's fun.
Right.
So thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. We've had another amazing episode, thanks to you, Colin. Unfortunately, we had one guest not show. I would show the messages, but there's no point. Anyways.
No. He just guaranteed us he would. And
love you all so very much. It's at MMA Power Hour, social media. Like, comment, share, tweet, retweet. We love it. We love you guys. You guys are the best.
That's right.
I am going to go ahead and call it a night. You got a couple minutes, Colin.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for all that you do, Dr. Adam Roorda. We will be in that new studio soon. We've been saying a little bit, but things have changed a little bit. But we're
I dropped the ball this week, my assistant, and I meant to get some things set up for them. We didn't have enough time, so it is what it is.
Well, you know
but
what
we are moving.
They say if your assistant drops the ball, you have to make sure they take off their shoe and then do an old-fashioned Marco.
There's other things that I heard about
stomp.
that. There's other things I heard about assistants dropping balls, and I'm not going to go there.
No. I'm talking about the old-fashioned Marco Huas foot stomp. You stomp their foot. Anyway, no, you wouldn't.
That's about right.
That could work, right? Yeah. But anyway, so we will be there soon. Anyway, I actually have a couple minutes here, so I want to thank you all so much for your support. We're keeping on rocking. Once in a while, if we don't have a guest show up, we do care. We don't want to disappoint you, and we never advertise anything that's not confirmed. Stuff happens, and it is what it is. But as we know, sometimes fighters are not able to show up for their fights, and so an interview is easier to back out of than a fight for whatever reason. But all respect to our guests, even if you back out, we're not hating you. It's just frustrating and disappointing a bit. But so do what you can out there to keep your word, because there's no consequences here. We're not going to chase down and try to scream or curse out a fighter, nor would I do that to someone that's not a fighter. It really doesn't matter. But the bottom line is, best thing you can do is keep your word, and when you make a commitment, keep it, even if it means your eyes are going to be red, you're going to miss out on something else fun, or even maybe a little bit of money. Keep your word is always the best thing. But I wanted to thank you all for your support. It really means a lot. It's a cold winter out there, and it's going to get colder. So make sure you're warm. You're not running outside without a jacket, especially in the Midwest and East Coast. Make sure you start eating your soup and drinking your hot cocoa and hot tea and hot apple cider. Take your vitamin C. Make sure your resistance is high so you don't get sick. Everyone's struggling. You don't want to miss work for a few weeks or anything like that. Be careful with your car. Also, you burn out your car, you slam on the brakes, you go running too fast, all of a sudden you don't have a car. So be careful. Protect yourself and be smart, so that you can make it through this winter without as much adversity or any more than is necessary. So give a friend a call that you haven't talked to for a while, or a text or a Facebook message or an Instagram. Let someone know you got their back and you're thinking about them, even if you haven't had time to call. The difference in the kind words could mean a tremendous amount to someone more than you know. Look out not just for your family and dear friends, but also your neighbors, your coworkers, if you can. Your pets. Unconditional love is what you get with them. Make sure they have a warm place in this cold winter. Fresh water, fresh food. Take your dog for a walk. Make sure your cat's litter box is clean. That's the least they deserve. And big love to animals. Any other fellow animal lover, I am a big animal lover here. And that's about it. We're going to have another great show next week, possibly from the new studio, and we'll announce our guests on social media. Thank you so much. In order of appearance to Jason Lederfine, one of the operations directors over at Cage Fury Fighting Championship. Thank you so much. And thank you to Jalen Turner, top 20 ranked UFC lightweight. Appreciate you guys both so much. For Dr. Adam Roorda and the entire team at the MMA Power Hour, I am Colin Crandall. And for tonight, I am tapping out.